Hello, today I'm going to explain the solutions to AMC 10A 2021. I hope you enjoy it and please don't forget to subscribe and like to my channel. Now let's get started. So first we do the one in brackets, which is 91, and 91 squared would just be 91 times 91 over 169, and you can break 91 into 13 times 7 times, and then the other 91 into also 13 times 7. And you can immediately recognize that 169 is 13 times 13. So you can cancel these out. And you would just be left with 49. So your answer would be C. So this girl, she has a 4x6 index card. She shortens the length of one of the sides of this card by 1 inch. Okay, so we don't know which side she shortened it by. So let's try this side. So then it would be 4x5, which is 20. That does not match because it says the card would have an area of 18 square inches. Now let's try the other one. So this way. Okay, I'm not the best drawer in the world. 3 times 6 is 18. That matches this. So since we know that this side is the one that she cuts at the first time, it asks what would the area of the card be in square inches if she instead shortens the length of the other side by 1 inch. So she shortens this side. So that would just be 20, which is E. Next question, problem 3. What is the maximum number of balls of clay with radius 2 that can completely fit inside a cube with side length 6, assuming that the balls can be reshaped but not compressed before they're packed into the cube? Because the balls of clay can be reshaped, the only thing that matters is the volume. And the cube's volume is basically 6 cubed. And the ball's volume is 4 over 3 times pi r cubed, which you can substitute r as 2. So 4 out of 3 pi and then times 2 cubed. So now the only thing that you have to do is 6 cubed divided by 4/3 pi times 2 cubed. And we can just simplify this until you get 81 over 4 times pi. And this would be 81 over something about 12.56 because pi is infinite, but we just use 3.14. So if you use 7, it'll go all the way up to 84. But it says the maximum number of balls. So you want it to be a bit under. So it would only be 6 because that would be 75 point something something something. So the answer is D, 6. Mr. Lopez has a choice of 2 routes to get to work. Route A is 6 miles longer, and his average speed along this route is 30 miles per hour. Route B is 5 miles long, and his average speed along this route is 40 miles per hour, except for a half-mile stretch in a school zone, where his average speed is 20 miles per hour. By how many minutes is Route B quicker than Route A? Okay. So basically what we first do is Route A. So Route A, you have time 1, which is D out of S, which is, you plug in the information from the question, 6 miles over 30 miles, which is 1/5 of an hour. So now for route B, let's separate into two parts. So the first part is everything but the school zone. The second part is the school zone. So we have the second time is D1 over S1 plus D2 over DS2. And then we do the same thing, we plug in the information from the question. So we have 4.5 over 40 miles per hour. And plus half over 20 miles per hour. Okay, that's our school zone. And then here, you can just simplify this, so you get 9 out of 80 plus a 40th, which is 11/80th of an hour. Okay, now we need to know how many minutes route B is quicker than route A. So we need to do T1 minus T2, which is 1/5 minus 11/80th. And that will be 16 out of 80 minus 11 out of 80, which is 5/80ths. But now it asks how many minutes. So in order to know the minutes, we need to do 5/80ths times 60. And here you would just get 30 out of 8. And if you turn this into a mixed fraction, you would just get 3 3/4, and that's minutes. So our answer is B. Next question, problem 5. The 6-digit integer 20210A is prime for only one digit A. What is A? Okay, so let's do trial and error. So for 1 as A, we can apply the divisibility rule of 3. So the divisibility rule of 3 is the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. That qualifies for a multiple of 3. So let's try this. 2 plus 2 plus 1, that is 6. That is divisible. So we can cross out A. And same way for D. For D, it would be 2 plus 2 plus 1, that's 5, plus 7 is 12. And 12 is divisible by 3. So that doesn't work either. And now for 3. Well, for this one, we can apply the divisibility rule of 11. So for 11 is alternating sum. What I mean by alternative sum is the first digit minus the second digit plus the third digit minus the fourth digit, and so on and so forth. So here you would have 2 minus 0 plus 2 minus 1 plus 0 minus A. Yeah. So here you would have 2, and plus 2 is 4, and then minus 1 is 3, and then minus 3 here would be 0. So 0 is a multiple of 11, so that does not work. So 5 is obvious. That's the divisibility rule of 5. Divisibility rule of 5 is the last digit, which is for us A. It has to be a 5 or a 0. That qualifies for a multiple of 5. And in this case, if you have 5 as a, then that would be a multiple of 5. And you can't have that because you want it to be prime. So no, and that leaves us with only one last answer, which is E. Okay, now let's move on to problem 6. So for this problem, we need to find the distance between two consecutive telephone poles, and that's our first step. So from the first pole to the 41st pole, it's exactly 1 mile. And we know that there's 40 gaps from the first pole to the 41st pole. So we do 5,280 divided by 40, which is 132. And Elmer the emu takes 44 equal strides to walk between consecutive telephone poles. So each of his strides is 132 over 44, which is 3 feet. So each of his strides are 3 feet. Let's just write that. And now for Oscar. So for Oscar, each of his leaps are 132 divided by 12, which is 11 feet. Okay, so now it just asks how much longer in feet is Oscar's leap than Elmer's stride. So 11 feet minus 3 feet, which is 8 feet. So the answer would be B. Now let's move on to problem 7. So here, it tells us that ADCB is a square. And a square means that this is 90 degrees. And a full circle is 360 degrees. So, in order to find out what angle FDE is, we have to do 360 degrees minus 110 degrees, which is EDC, and then minus 90 degrees, which is ADC. That gives us 160 degrees. So now we know that FDE is 160 degrees. So it tells us previously that DF equals DE. And that just tells us that FDE is an isosceles triangle. So now, in order to find out what this angle is, so these angles are the same, and it tells us that these two segments are the same. So 180 minus 160 degrees divided by 2 is what we get for EFD, which is the same thing as FED, and that is 10 degrees. So the question asks us to find out what is AFE. So in order to find out what AFE is, we just do 180 minus EFD. So 180 degrees minus 10 degrees is 170 degrees, which tells us the answer is D. Okay, moving on. Problem 8. So this question, let's just assume there's this integer xy. So if this integer is expressed as xy, as x is the 10th digit and y is the units digit, then you can just write an equation like this. So 10x plus y, that is the value of the 2-digit positive integer xy. And that would be x plus y squared. And if you move all the variables to one side, you would have y squared minus y minus 9x, which is 0. So when x is 1, the equation would be y squared minus y minus 9, which is 0. And this equation has no integer solution because 9 can only break into 3 times 3, or 9 times 1. And the difference between the two factors of 9 are not 1. So if x is 2, then the equation would be y squared minus y minus 18, and same with 18. It can't be broken into two factors of 18 that have a difference of 1. And for 3, it would be y squared minus y minus 27. And same with 27, you can't break it down into factors of 27 that are a difference of 1. And for 4, you would have 36, and that wouldn't work. And for 5, you would have 45, and that wouldn't work either. For 6, you would have 54, and that doesn't work. 7, you have 63, and that doesn't work either. Until you have 8, that's 72. That 72 can be broken into 8 times 9, and 72 times 1, and so forth. But 8 times 9 is the one that is the two factors of 72 that have a difference of 1. So 89 is the only possible one. So basically, if you tried 9, it wouldn't work because 81 is only like 9 and 9, 27 and 3, 81 and 1. So that wouldn't work either. So the only possible answer is 89. So there's only one 2-digit positive integer that is cuddly. So the answer would be B. Problem 9. To roll the dice twice, and the sum is even, is when they're both odd, or they're both even. So even, and then odd and odd. The first case is to roll the dice twice, and the numbers are both even. So the probability is 3/4 times 3/4. Because the probability to roll the dice to get an even number is 3/4, while the probability to get an odd number is 1/4, as in the problem. An even number is 3 times as likely to appear as an odd number. Okay, case 2. To roll the dice twice and the numbers are both odd, the probabilities is 1/4 times 1/4, which is a 16th. So the total probability is 9/16 plus 1/16, which is 9/16 is the both even, and then 1/16 is the both odd. So that would be 10 out of 16, which is 5 out of 8. So our answer would be E. Number 10. Okay, so the school has 100 students and 5 teachers. In the first period, each student is taking one class and each teacher is teaching one class. The enrollments in the classes are 50, 20, 20, and 5 and 5. The T is the average value obtained if the teacher is picked at random and the number of students in their classes is noted. Let S be the average value obtained if the student is picked at random and the number of students in the class, including that student, is noted. What is T minus X? Okay. So the first case, the average will be 50 plus 20 plus 20 plus 5 plus 5 divided by 5, which is 100, divided by 5, which is 20. That's T. Okay. So the second case, so the average will be 50 times 50 plus 20 times 20 plus 20 times 20 plus 5 times 5 plus 5 times 5. Okay, and then divide by 100, which is the total count of the students. So if you're wondering why it's 50 times 50, it's because if one of the 50 students in the first class is picked, the number to be added to the sum is 50. And similarly, the 20 times 20 and so on. So now this is half times 50 plus a fifth times 20 times 2 plus 1/20 times 5, okay, times 2, and that is basically 25 plus 8 plus 0.5, 0.5, which is 33.5. So that is S. Okay. So now we just need to do T minus S. So T minus S is 20 minus 33.5. Okay, that is a bit messy. Which is negative 13.5, which gives us the answer B. Okay, now we're working on problem 11. So for this question, let's assume that Emily's speed is X and the ship's speed is Y. And the length of the ship is L. Okay. In the first case, Emily and the ship are going the same direction. So 210, which is the distance that Emily traveled, divided by X, is the time Emily traveled, is the same as the time the ship traveled. So that's 210 minus L. So you might wonder why it's 210 minus L. So let's draw a picture. So this is Emily's line and this is the ship's line. So I'm gonna make a different color for the ship. So the ship will be pink. So this is the ship and it goes all the way to there. So the head starts from here and it goes to there. Okay, now let's make a different color for Emily. So she starts from here, which is the end of the ship, and then she ends up here, which is the front of the ship. Okay, that's not exactly, but you get the idea. So this is basically 210 minus L, this part. So this part, the ship width is 210 minus L. Okay, so I put a divide by Y here. And now the second case, the time that Emily traveled is 42 divided by X. And the time that the ship traveled is L minus 42 over Y. Okay, so you might wonder why it's L minus 42. Let's draw another picture for that. So this is Emily's line, and this is the ship's line. So the ship starts here, and now it's here. And as for Emily, she started here, and now she's here, and this is 42. So the distance the ship traveled, so from here to here, that is L minus 42. So that explains why it's L minus 42. So now we just simplify these. So 210 over 210 minus L is 42 over L minus 42. And so you can cross multiply them. So you'd get 210 times L minus 42, which is 42 times 210 minus L. Sorry. And now you would have 5L minus 210 is 210 minus L. So 6L would be 420. And let me scroll down just a bit. So L is 70, so the answer is A. Now problem 12. So the number n can be expressed as 2 times 9 to the power of 10 plus 7 times 9 to the power of 9 plus 6 times 9 to the power of 6 plus 5 times 9 to the power of 1 plus 2. To find out the remainder when n is divided by 5, we just need to know n's units digit. We know that 9 to the power of 1's units digit is 9, 9 to the power of 2's units digit is 1, then 9, then 1, and so on. So n's units digit is 2 times 1 plus 7 times 9 plus 6 times 1 plus 5 times 9 plus 2. So that is basically 8 mod 10, which is 3 mod 5. So our answer is D. Problem 13. So for this question, the only chance to have every ball is different in color from more than half of the other 5 balls is 3 balls are white and 3 balls are black. So black, 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 white, white, white. So when we take any one out, the majority of the rest 5 is in different color. So let me give you an example. So if we take one of the blacks out, then more than half of the 5 balls is white. So 3 of them are white and 2 of them are black. And you can try any one of them and the result is the same. Any other combination does not satisfy the condition. The probability of 3 black and 3 white is if we choose 3 from 6, so to be black, and the rest will be white, and the total cases are 2 to the power of 6. So each position of 6 can have 2 choices, black or white. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one you have 2 choices, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. That explains why it's 2 to the power of 6. So the target probability would be, 6 choose 3, so this can be simplified to 6 times 5 times 4 over 3 times 2 over 2 to the power of 6, which is 20 over 64, which can be simplified to 5 out of 16. So the answer is D. Let's move on to problem 14. So the best way to figure out the number of solutions is to draw a graph in the coordinates. So this is y, this is x, and this is the origin. So the first equation is basically a parabola. If we twist the equation to become y equals negative 1/3 x squared plus 3. So the negative a third means a parabola is open downwards. So let's draw it. So if we use some anchor coordinates here, so when x is 0, y is 3, and when y is 0, x is plus or minus 3. So the parabola would be, so let's say 3 is here, negative 3 is here, 3 is here. So the parabola is something like this. Okay, so let's move on to the next equation. So we can change it to two equations to remove the square. The absolute value of x plus absolute value of y minus 4 is 1, and the other one is absolute value of x plus absolute value of y minus 4 is negative 1. Sorry, negative 1. So that is basically absolute value of x plus absolute value of, absolute value of y is 5, and absolute value of x plus absolute value of y is 3. So then in the coordinates, you would have, so this is negative 3 here. And let's say this is 5, this is 5, this is negative 5, this is negative 5. So you can see the two graphs intersect in 5 coordinates. This one, which is 3, so this one is 3, 0, 3. This one here, which is negative 3, 0. This one here, 3, 0. And another one would be here in the 4th quadrant, and another one here, which is in the 3rd quadrant. So the answer is 5, D. Moving on, problem 15. Same thing here. The first thing to do is to draw the graph. So let's draw, this is A, this is B, this is C, and let's connect them. AC. Okay, so the question tells us that AB and AC are equal, and they're both 3 root 6. And then we're drawing a circle tangent to the line, so we know that tangent means that the center of the circle O, so let's just say this is the center of the circle O. BO has to be perpendicular to AB, so that's 90 degrees. And AC has to be perpendicular to OC, so this is 90 degrees as well. So now we need to figure out the circle passes through A, B, and C. Okay, since angle ABO is 90 degrees, and since the angle ACO is also 90 degrees, that means that AO is the diameter of the new circle. Passing through A, B, I'm just gonna try this. It's not a perfect circle. So to figure out the area of this new circle, we need to know the length of AO. So we need to know what this is. So let's use a Pythagorean theorem. So AO squared is AC squared plus OC squared, which is 3 root 6 squared plus 5 root 2 squared is 54 plus 50, which is 104. So the area, so pi r squared, is pi times AO over 2 squared, which is 104 pi over 4, which is 26 pi, which tells us the answer is C.